laughing matter. And believe it or not, you parents have lots of control over the punchline by what you do, not just what you say. According to a survey by Liberty Mutual and Students Against Drunk Driving, teenagers overwhelmingly report their parents' actions are the biggest influence on how they drive. And these actions are nothing to smile about. 62% of the surveyed teens say their parents talk on a cell phone while driving, 48% speed, and 31% don't buckle up. Since all three of these factors contribute to fatal crashes, parents, don't grin and bear it. Let your actions do the talking. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us.
Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour.
You know, you just get near the ocean and you either have that salt water in your blood or you don't. Once you've experienced a ride in an offshore powerboat, turn on. The sound of the power and then the speed. For the rest of your life, you will never ever forget it. I'm Mark Granite, driver, world champion Miss Geico offshore race boat. On the ocean, there's no laws. You can go as fast as you want out there. So every weekend, you know, we were out racing and running our boats. I never thought for a moment it would be what my profession was. You gotta learn how to win. Put together the right team and the people around you that can help take each step to become a champion. This crew works from 8 in the morning till 10 at night. 6, 7 days a week. Dedication to a common goal. To win. That's it, to win. Powerboat racing is unique. There's a throttle man and a driver traveling at close to a football field a second. We have to become one. Then you got your race boat. What propellers you run? What gear ratio you run? How are the engines? Are all systems working? Have you got enough test time? What happened in your last race? The crew, they are some really, really bright guys. And even then, things can go horribly wrong. No, is the most deadly motorsport there is, period. You know, we've lost a lot of friends. And those are tremendously difficult moments. But winning is about the unknown. It's about being faster than the other guy. When the referees call the red area, it gets very, very. You become hyper-focused, hyper-tuned into all the things that are happening. Every beat of the engine, the way the water's slapping the hull, the smells coming through the cockpit, the heat, pure power these boats take off. And then it goes to quiet. That freedom, that openness, that power is unbelievably intoxicating. I mean, there's no question that I are given the tool, the weapon, to do what we need to on the race course. We're unbeatable. You just get near the ocean and you either have that salt water in your blood or you don't. Once you've experienced a ride in an offshore powerboat, big block, the sound of the power and then the speed, for the rest of your life, you will never ever forget it. Mark Granite, driver, world champion Miss Geico offshore race boat. On the ocean, there's...
Right, welcome to happy 4th, July 4th holiday weekend. Drive safely. And if you're going to be hanging around the house, cooking barbecue and those sorts of things, what a perfect weekend. You just couldn't ask for anything to be better. Coming up, we're going to be talking with Terry Sabiston from Daytona, and we're going to get the latest and greatest information all the way from the Daytona International Speedway regarding the Coke Zero 400 coming up this weekend. It's going to be a fantastic weekend. In addition to that, we're going to have a gentleman from the University of Iowa, Dr. Dan McGehee, that's going to share with us information about driving safety and crashes. He's been obsessed with crashes. Well, we're going to be talking to him. I have some questions that I'm going to be asking him as well. This segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you by Royal Purple, my choice for synthetic lubricants. And also, Bobby Likis Car Clinic, proud to be brought to you this morning by O'Reilly Auto Parts, where it's, by the way, Murray AC Month. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts and save on Interdynamics R134A refrigerant with leak sealer. You can buy 2, you get 1 free, or take advantage of the Do It Right rebate and earn a $50 O'Reilly by mail when you buy a Murray AC compressor, expansion valve, and accumulator or dryer. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts during Murray AC month and save. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Your call's coming up at 888-227-2546.
He stops blowing cold air. Find relief during O'Reilly Auto Parts Murray AC. While you may need to eventually service your AC, get immediate relief with Interdynamics R134A refrigerant with leak sealer. Buy two, get one free at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Limit supply. See store for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Fortune 500 companies choose Royal Purple lubricants to protect and improve the performance of their multi-million-dollar equipment. The same high-performance technology is also available for your car, truck, motorcycle, boat, or ATV. Royal Purple enhances performance and provides superior protection for anything wrapped in metal. Royal Purple is the performance oil that outperforms. For independent tests and endorsements that document Royal Purple benefits, go to royalpurple.com. That's royalpurple.com.
History is full of automotive breakthroughs, like Henry Ford's Model T in 1908 and flashing turn signals in 1935. Now, Shell is proud to introduce another automotive breakthrough, Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline, featuring an innovative additive package with patented technology. Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline protects against all three main types of engine performance threats: gunk, corrosion. All gasolines have minimal amounts of cleaning agents required by EPA, but this may not be sufficient to prevent buildup of deposits. Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline provides unbeatable protection against gunk and corrosion, plus superior protection against wear. Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline, proven in industry-standard tests and recommended WM series. Don't get just any premium gasoline. Choose a breakthrough. Choose Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline. Learn more at Shell/US.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Like Shakespeare, we ask the question, what's in a name? Ours is pretty blah. We're Geico, not to be confused with Gecko, a small tree lizard. And no, Geico doesn't have a sister company named Girlco. So, in the absence of a perfect name, focus group tested for hipness, we offer car insurance at a fair price. In 15 minutes, you could save 15%. Call 1-800-947-AUTO, 1-800-947-AUTO. Not be cool, but saving money always is. Geico Direct, the sensible alternative.
Another lending success story from LendingTree.com.
I tend to put things off. For example, I put off getting a home equity line of credit for a while. Then one day, when I should have been doing my laundry, I went to LendingTree.com. I filled out one simple form and got 4 offers back within hours. Then I chose the line of credit that was right for me. Who knows? I'm using it someday.
When banks at LendingTree.com. Equal housing opportunity. For additional information and state license disclosures, please visit our website located at LendingTree.com.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
You might say that we are excited in-house because today is not only July 4th, but there's a lot of activity going on around this great nation of ours. There's also some activity that yours truly has been involved with lately. It's Drop and Give Me 10, and it's a complete overview of the fallen patriots. We'll tell you a little more about that a little bit later on in the program. This segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you by Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline. Stay ahead of the engine threats like gunk, corrosion, and wear with new Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline. Total engine protection you can get. When you buy your next tank of fuel, you choose Shell V-Power. We're going to go to Daytona now, and this is really exciting because this is like our brothers in the house. Terry Sabiston from Daytona, WNDB 1150 AM and 93.5 FM. Terry, it sure is fun to have you back in the house.
It's fun to be in the house, and it's fun to be in the house I'm at Daytona International Speedway. Much less, it's Independence Day, a great day to celebrate our freedom. And if there's anywhere in the world that I want to be, I have found it right here, right now.
Well, sure, you live there. So, I mean, it's like every weekend you get to go out. It reminds me of we have callers from New York, and of course, I can go to the beach any weekend, and I don't every weekend. What's that noise in the background that I hear?
Actually, it's the Coca-Cola car from the Richard Petty Driving Experience, and we actually have some cars on track right now, so you'll have some background noise. Maybe I'll call them as they come out of turn 4 here while we're on the air.
Well, we got you on the air for the next 6 or 8 minutes. So, Terry, what's going on at the Daytona International Speedway in Daytona Beach, Florida?
Well, right now it's the calm before the fireworks, and actually the fireworks started yesterday afternoon in practice. Had a 10-car wreck in the Sprint Cup practice, and a bunch of guys had to go to backup cars. Had a top speeds in the first practice. Dale Earnhardt Jr. topped 202 miles an hour. And so that gives you an idea of what drafting is and what they're going to do in the draft come Sunday night. And that's a change, too. We got a Sunday night race here at Daytona. I can't remember last time we had a Sunday. Well, maybe there was a little weather delay a couple times. But, yeah, not on the 4th of July. But we've had some interesting things here at Daytona. But we've got tonight the Subway's Firecracker 250 with the Xfinity cars, and they've got qualifying at 2:35 this afternoon. And then at 4:35, Sprint Cup qualifying, and then 7:30 night the Xfinity race. And then tomorrow, WNDB, we actually go on the air, and we have a new app now. You can download the app and listen to us anywhere in the world. And you check out our app to follow along. But we go on the air at noon tomorrow, and the race is at 7:30 Sunday night. So we've already had a full day yesterday of broadcasting, had some great interviews, great people, just a great day. Great couple 3 days here at Daytona International Speedway. And it sounds like we got cars coming off pit road, so I have a pack coming around here in a minute.
Okay.
But, and that's something else. You can come out today and tomorrow morning and do the Richard Petty ride-along and take your laps around Daytona Speedway.
Well, you and I have been around the Daytona International Speedway together, and it is, folks, can you imagine running, and you said that Earnhardt ran 200-plus miles per hour?
They had 11 cars over 200 miles an hour in yesterday's practice.
See, that's amazing to me. And what's really amazing is at one point in time, when you're running 200 miles an hour, you got to turn left. and it really, Terry, when you think about it, folks, think about it. You run down the highway at 70 or 80 miles an hour, and you're just thinking about having to turn left, even with a high bank, but 200 miles an hour. And then you put a stack of cars, what are they, a foot apart or closer?
They got really close yesterday. Keselowski said he did not touch Kyle Busch. There's no mark on Kyle Busch says he hit me. So they get that close together, or you can't tell whether they hit each other. Keselowski kept going. Kyle Busch got spun around, took out 9 other cars.
Quick question, Terry. As I understand, approximately 50,000 new front stretch seats will be available for the Independence Holiday Weekend event. And also we'll showcase the new amenities that are being created by Daytona Rising. Give us a little synopsis of the Daytona Rising and what that's doing for all the economy in the Daytona Beach and Ormond Beach area.
It's a big boost to the economy. It's huge. The $400 million being spent here on the grandstands in the front stretch, turning this into a sports stadium. And it's in the process right now. To be truthful, Daytona International Speedway feels a little strange because the Sprint Tower is gone.
Oh, I know.
And now there's a big, huge construction of steel up there where the new tower is going, but there's no seats in front of it. There are no seats, and here comes the pack riding by. 3 cars driving down in that has nobody that can sit in the tri-oval anywhere. All the way down, almost all the way to turn 4. We have 19 sections on the upper level that have seats in the turn 4 grandstands, but the rest of it, there are no seats. It's all construction. And then you head down, when you get right past the tri-oval toward turn 1, the grandstands are completely finished from there on down, and there's 40,000 seats there. Then you turn around over to the backstretch, and there are no seats left on the backstretch grandstands. They've removed all but one section back there. That's where all the suites are entertaining the VIPs on the backstretch, and that will disappear come next by. So we are in a transition period here, and this is as Joey Chitwood said, this is a strange-looking racetrack, but when it's all done, it's going to be amazing.
Well, we had Joey on the air, I don't know, last year or so, and he gave us an overview of what's going on with all the new neighborhood areas where people can socialize without missing any of the on-track action. And also, for the first time ever, the Speedway has escalators. So it reminds me of like a movie that you would see of the future look of a racetrack, and Daytona indeed is setting that future.
Well, I'm going to check out those escalators tonight. I've got tickets to tonight's race up in the grandstand, and it's going to be interesting to see. I'm up in the 300 sections, which I believe that puts me in one of the upper sections down toward turn one. I've already been up there in those seats, Bobby, and I swear, you can see the waves breaking on the beach.
Really?
Yes, you can see the ocean clearly from those top
Terry,
seats.
share with our Car Clinic listeners what it's like for the drivers, because you get to roam anywhere within the pits that you like, and you talk with individuals both on the air and off the air. And off the air is sometimes more revealing than what a lot of folks might think. So, how does a driver get prepared to drive the 400 Coke Zero 400 at 200 miles an hour?
The thing about driving here at Daytona, it totally changes from February to July. And that's one thing the driver said. You come here in February, it never really gets, we're pushing 90-degree heat here. So in February, you can hold it down and just go. Here at this time of year, you have to you're playing with the throttle a little bit, and you've got to drive the car a little more because the track is slick. It's hot and slick out here. Now, the other thing that happens in February is we've got cars on the track for almost a full month. This track is clean. They've only been on 4 hours of practice yesterday, qualifying today, a race tonight. So by the time they get on it tomorrow night, it'll start to build up somewhat, but nothing like it is in February. So that's the other thing. The track's totally different, and that's a factor. The heat's got to be a factor, too, because they haven't hit this kind of heat, I don't think, with a high humidity just being out there. You're talking, we're already at 95, 100 degrees easily. Pavement's probably got B130. Crank up a race car and all that heat, and you're cooking in there. So you got to be prepared for this heat. I hydrate. You wouldn't believe how much water I've been drinking out here.
What's the temperature inside the cockpit of a NASCAR car?
They estimate probably up around 130, 140 degrees. And most of the drivers have cool suits, but sometimes that breaks too, and turns into a hot suit. So you have to be physically prepared for this. And when you talk to these guys, Eric Armorell had an opportunity to chat with him, and he said physically, this is probably one of the biggest challenges, this in Indianapolis. But this is tough because, even as a night race, we haven't gone below 75, 80 degrees in probably a month here.
Well,
we're already into the heat of summer. Hopefully the weather will hold out. We were lucky yesterday. We've had some tough weather here in the past few weeks, and to be truthful, WNDB and Southern Stone Communications went through a lightning strike last week, and we're in a rebuilding mode right now. So it's been an interesting week for us. But weather looks good. Should be a fun, and I mean really fun, Independence Day. And we get two of them. We get fireworks tonight, and we get to do it all over again with one of the largest fireworks show in the Southeast after the race. But we got fireworks on the track going on today and tomorrow.
Well, there you have it, folks. Terry Sabiston from Daytona Beach, WNDB Car Clinic's first affiliate, absolutely, in 1991. WNDB 1150 AM was our first affiliate, thanks to Mark Bernier. We're out of time, Terry. Thanks so much for the update from the Daytona International Speedway. I'll let you get back to your work.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. Happy Independence Day to everybody out there.
Thank you so much.
Daytona Beach.
He's a nice gent, and I will tell you, that's a fantastic. If you've never been to the Daytona 500 Speedway, you should just go and look at how mammoth it is. It's huge. Coming up, I see on the line, we have Dr. Dan McGehee, the Director of Vehicle and Traffic Program at the University of Iowa. It's a proper time for us to be talking to Dr. McGehee because it's the Independence July the 4th. Tons of cars on the road. Drive safely. If you're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic, feel free to call in at 888 Car Clinic. That's 227-2546. Dr. McGehee and I when I come back. Spending more time at the pump? Vehicle warm-ups taking longer? Maybe time to replace your engine's thermostat. Your engine's ability to reach and maintain proper operating temperature is key to better fuel economy, performance, and lower emissions. Stance Superstat features heavy-duty springs to return the thermostat to the closed position and prevent cold running, and Superstat's unique design more accurately meters coolant until desired engine temp is reached. For more reasons to choose a Superstat, drive to stat.com. I'm Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about ethanol. Of all the races in which Americans enjoy competing, the one that we win is independence from foreign oil. The American ethanol industry is not only significantly stepping up the pace today, producing an estimated 13.9 billion gallons in 209 ethanol biorefineries in 29 states, but also helping to pave the way for standalone or greenfield and advanced and cellulosic ethanol biorefineries. Scores of ethanol technology companies are already into the demonstration phase of production, proving that technology to convert everything from corn stalks to grasses to garbage to algae are viable. I'm Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about ethanol. Brought to you by the Renewable Fuels Association. Drive to ethanolrfa.org.
When Steve was setting up a temporary zone.
Margot's brother Steve was killed by a motorist who crashed through a highway work zone.
Kneeling in front of my mother and telling her what had happened was probably the worst thing that I had to do.
His daughter Lindsay was in high school when Steve died.
They're people. They have to work. Pay attention.
America's transportation workers, the beating heart of mobility. A reminder from the American Traffic Safety Services Foundation.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
The airlines like to have sales. Summer getaway sales, holiday sales, winter sales. Any moment some airline somewhere is on sale with low fares to great destinations. Travelocity knows exactly what's going on, who's on sale, to where, and when at over 700 airlines worldwide. We even have this nifty feature that lets you look at a calendar so that you can see exactly the days the great fares are available. Travelocity. Go virtually anywhere. AOL keyword, travel.
Hung? Guess my temperature.
It's 2 a.m. Go to sleep.
Come on, one guess.
I'm 98.
Higher.
Higher at 99.
You're getting warmer. I'm getting warmer.
Cold symptoms keeping you from getting a good night's sleep? Get NyQuil. Sometimes sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, so you can sleep better to feel better medicine. Use as directed.
One more guess.
100?
Yes. Tell her what she's won, Bob.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Call with your car questions at 888 Car Clinic. Just in time for the 4th of July weekend today. On the phone with me now is Dr. Dan McGehee, Director of Transportation and Vehicle Safety Research Program at the University of Iowa. Dr. McGehee holds adjunct appointments in 3 departments: mechanical and industrial engineering, occupational health, and emergency medicine. Obsessed with car crashes for over 20 years, Dr. McGehee and his team have conducted many studies on crashes and their causes, including the first ever naturalistic driving study on teen driver behavior using black box recorders with video. This is going to be very interesting, folks. Dan, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Great to be here. Thanks so much, Bobby.
A pleasure. I'm most interested in your studies and your experiences. Share with our car clinic listeners and viewers, why is an increase in car crashes anticipated this weekend and through the summer months?
Well, there's a number of things that are contributing to this uptick in driving, primarily fuel prices and people working more. So the more we drive, the more we crash. It's kind of a pretty simple principle in crash epidemiology. So that's really what we're looking at this weekend, is that a lot more people are going to be on the road.
Well, if you would, share some of the life-saving techniques that perhaps our car clinic audiences can use while they're out and about this weekend.
Well, I think what's exciting is to see that there are many new technologies that you've talked about on your program a number of times. We're really taking a look at some of the new car technologies that we've developed over the years at the University of Iowa, along with our car industry colleagues. Everything from new technologies like adaptive cruise control that provide, some additional braking and things when we get a little distracted behind the wheel, lane tracking systems. There's a lot of new technologies coming out on our cars that are really going to help reduce those crashes in the future.
We're talking with Dr. Dan McGehee, Director of Transportation and Vehicle Research in the safety arena at the University of Iowa. Dr. McGehee, tell car clinic listeners and viewers what you see are the most popular and perhaps the most effective safety technologies aboard today's vehicles.
Well, what's really been great over the years, we've been sort of slowly building a number of technologies. Electronic stability control is a really important one that's been mandatory now for the last several years. Of course, analog brake systems, which have been around for almost 20 years. And now really the next big area is going to be in automatic brake systems, and this is where it monitors the vehicles ahead, and if you don't hit the brakes in time, it's going to start braking for you.
I think there's a lot of anticipation there, and I'd love to see some of the studies that you've provided and you've experienced. Let's talk about maybe the safety aspects and the drivers that will use these safety technologies. Is it okay for drivers to trust these technologies, and how would you help our listeners better understand how to use these safety technologies? For instance, anti-lock brakes, as you said, have been around 20 years, and for years I explained that what folks should do is on a side road, and when it's wet one day, is the anti-lock brake so that they could get a feel of what the car would do. Help us to better understand how they can use these technologies.
Absolutely, and that's a great idea, and what I recommend frequently, depending on what part of the country you're in, your listeners, knowing what analog brakes is like. And I think last winter was really indicative of when we had snow and ice down in the south, some of the first time that people were able to feel analog brake systems. At first, you think that your brakes have just failed, but with it, hold the brake down as hard as you can, and you'll feel that pulsing and some pushback. But like you say, go out on a slick day when there's no cars around on a straight road, flat road, and just stand on your brakes, and just so you can get into that analog brake system. The same can be true for gravel. Certainly if you're in a snowy climate, get used to those kind of technologies.
Dr. McGehee, I'd like to shift gears just for a minute. I know that there are so many people that have, and we've heard so much about autonomous vehicles. I couldn't let you go without asking you your input as to what autonomous vehicle technology will bring to this.
Well, this is really the exciting next chapter, and as I said, a number of these technologies have been building. I mean, 1958 was the first year that we had conventional cruise control. If you think about it, that's a form of automation. Now we're really starting to see, just a couple of years ago in the lower priced vehicles, certainly for the high end, we've had, adaptive, which sort of controls the speed of your vehicle relative to the car ahead for, 15 years or so on the very high end. But now we're starting to see Subaru, Toyota, Honda bringing in these technologies into their entry-level vehicles like the CR-V, the Subaru Impreza, the Outback, and so forth. And so now we're really starting to see the regular driver be able to get into some of these automatic braking system technologies, lane tracking. So I highly recommend that your listeners go out, and if they're looking at a new car, take a look at these technologies, because these are really what's going to save you later on from being in a rear-end crash, from a road departure collision. There's some just super exciting stuff out there.
Dan, would you share with our listeners how you became involved and obsessed in car crashes? Is there some story there?
Actually, I started off as a cockpit designer for Boeing about 25 years ago, and got interested in how you design for pilots and into automotive engineering. And it was really when we started looking at distraction 20 years ago, way before the cell phone came into being. Rear-end crashes were still one of the most common crash types, and those were really caused by driver distraction before the cell phone even. And when you start looking at how we can prevent those through technology, we have a $90 million driving simulator here at the University of Iowa, the National Advanced Driving Simulator, and I invite you to come out here and do a show from that simulator lab anytime. But it's really when we put people into these crash situations and develop technologies to help prevent those or reduce the speed of the crash that I became super interested in how drivers performed in those really awful situations. And then later, we developed technologies, these video black box recorders that you mentioned, where we could actually video the crash from the inside out. And this was really a revelation to really understand not only how drivers perform right up until the moment of impact, but also we're able to understand how badly injured they were. And that's some of the work that I do in emergency medicine is injury prediction in these crashes using these very sophisticated black box recorders.
Shift one more gear and talk about V2V. I know that manufacturers and OEMs are working together. Is it correct to say that the OEMs are more in sync with the vehicle-to-vehicle crash avoidance than they otherwise would be using their proprietary softwares in that mode of operation?
Well, the vehicle-to-vehicle communication is really going to be a complement to the next automated driving. So when I talked about the automatic braking systems of today, those use sensors, camera systems, radar systems within the vehicle. The next step is really to start to communicate between those vehicles so that that brake light, the braking of the mechanical system is transmitted to the car behind, and then drivers and the cars can respond much more quickly in those emergency situations. So the vehicle-to-vehicle communication, the vehicle-to-infrastructure communication, and so forth is really a nice complement to the vehicle's own sensing technologies they're quite sophisticated, but this is sort of that extra margin of information that we want to bring into the vehicle.
It's very interesting and very noteworthy for this particular weekend. Dr. Dan McGehee, just one more question before I let you go. The latest technology, cameras on the front of semis with perhaps screens on the back so that the following car can see through the semi. Do you think we'll see that on America's highways?
Really what you see from that particular vehicle is a technology that, the Volvo XC90, the 2016, which we just received as one of our latest lab cars as a technology demonstrator. That technology is essentially on the road in a number of different forms, and what we're really seeing is the manufacturers connecting the dots between these technologies. So for that particular truck, we see adaptive cruise control paired with lane tracking technology, and then you essentially can remove your hands from the wheel for a little bit longer. The Volvo XC90, just last Friday we received the 2016 model. I was able to drive in a rural environment, essentially completely automated, for about 20 minutes in stop-and-go traffic. So the technology is here. It's working. Drivers have to understand where it works and where it doesn't. And this is one of the things that we're doing with this national education campaign called mycardoeswhat.org. And so that drivers can go and look at each of these technologies. We have videos, explainers, all sorts of things that I think would be of interest to your listeners, some of the things that you talk about frequently on your program. So there's some exciting stuff with these trucks and how they play out.
Well, certainly we will, and I appreciate your time. Again, folks, that website is mycardoeswhat.org, and with us was Dr. Dan McGehee, Director of Transportation and Vehicle Safety Research Program at the University of Iowa, and we just may have to take you up and come out to Iowa one weekend and share more information of what the programs are going on there at the University of Iowa. Dr. McGehee, Dan, thank you so much for your time and for sharing the latest and greatest safety technology with Car Clinic listeners.
Thanks very much, Bobby.
mycardoeswhat.org. You got to love it, folks. I don't know how you feel about technology and up to date, but just think about it. As we've often said on Car Clinic, they don't make cars the way they used to. That's right. They make them a whole lot better. I mean, with anti-lock brakes, that was the beginning. And I had the privilege in 1988 in Germany at the Bosch test plant and it was a very secretive, no cameras were allowed. My friend and I, Steve Loudon, who owns Loudon Motor Cars in Dallas, were there. And I will tell you, well, actually, he won the Central Coast, or the Central United States Bosch Authorized Service Center award, and I won the East Coast region, and another gentleman won the North side. At that time, Bosch did not have any service centers on the West Coast. So we all had a 10-day, all expenses paid trip to Germany, courtesy of Bosch. And I will tell you, it was unbelievable number one, it's a different culture, and the Autobahn is everything that they say about it. We're cruising along at 60 or 80 miles an hour, and if somebody blinks their lights, you best get over. But the bottom line, I drove a car that had ABS brakes, and it had an off-on switch. And only when you can get on a skid pad that's wet and nail the brakes and go round and round, and then the next time turn the ABS on and it stops straight and true, do you realize how safety that is. When I come back, more calls at 888 Car Clinic. The relationship with your vehicle. Trust. You trust in your car or truck to get you to work or play. So when your car needs to be repaired, make sure you trust the parts your technician uses to get your vehicle going again. With over 100 years of OE expertise, Delphi has earned your trust. Delphi supplies OE automotive technologies to the world's top 25 vehicle manufacturers. Take ignition systems. Manufacturing more than 23 million ignition coils every year, Delphi uses wire with tolerances that are tighter than standard industry practice to ensure winding consistency. And Delphi's advanced magnetic design and modeling capabilities result in a more efficient coil design, helping deliver optimum engine performance, exhaust emission, and fuel economy. That's better for your car, better for the environment, and better for you. For over a century, Delphi has had a passion for making the parts that help vehicles worldwide run better, longer, and more efficiently. Learn more at DelphiAutoparts.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
All across the nation, to the Cool Whip. Fireworks in the sky, put on the Cool Whip. Red, white, and blue. America's berry pie, better with Cool Whip. Family, friends, and Cool Whip. Summertime. Cool Whip topping. It's Cool Whip time, yeah. The Cool Whip. And your picnics, parties, and barbecues. Cool Whip to the Cool Whip. Cool Whip's the one for you.
Good night, Prevotella. Good night, actinomyces. Good night, streptococcus.
Germs, millions of them. They've been building up in your mouth all day, and some of them can even lead to the gum disease gingivitis. Say goodnight with Listerine. Just 30 seconds of Listerine before bed kills germs, even germs that can cause gingivitis. Use Listerine every night and go to sleep with a healthier mouth. See your dentist. Use as directed when brushing and flossing aren't enough.
You, my friend, have connections in the government. Yes, you. USA.gov, the official source for government information on thousands of topics. And like any good connection, there's no telling where it can take you. Why, one day you're getting student loan information. Next thing you know, you need job hunting tips. Today's road construction info could have you searching for telecommuting ideas tomorrow. The more you use USA.gov, the more uses you'll find for it. Passport applications, for example. They've been known to lead to a sudden interest in travel advisories. Our new mobile apps will even update you on the go. So whether you have information or ideas to give your government, check out USA.gov. Who knows? Lottery results today to retirement planning tomorrow. Gov. With the right connections, there's no telling where you can go.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to the Independence Day Parade program from the center of the automotive universe. I am just delighted to be here. Kim will take your call. Hey, gosh, I've been remiss, although we've been a bit busy this morning. Kim, I want to welcome you. Turn your mic up in the control room there, Kevin. Kim, welcome back, and congratulations on a healthy baby girl. Is that right? Is that? I can hear you. Oh, you can't hear?
Yeah.
Oh, she's got her headphones on.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Okay.
Yeah,
well, she's back. She's back from. I just said congratulations. So thumbs up. You know, yeah. She is really fantastic. She'll take your calls at 888 Car Clinic. That's 888-227-2546. Again, happy 4th of July. I want to give you an overview because I don't know how many out there could really give a definition of the Independence Day. So I would like to share that with you, and then we're going to have Jim from Car Clinic Reporter coming up immediately following Independence Day of the United States also referred to as 4th of July or July 4th in the U.S., is a federal holiday commemorating the adoption of the Declaration of Independence on July the 4th, 1776, by the Continental Congress, declaring that the 13 American colonies regarded themselves as a new nation, the United States of America, and no longer part of the British Empire. Independence Day is commonly associated, folks, with fireworks and parades and barbecues and carnivals and fairs and picnics and concerts and baseball games and family reunions and lions and tigers, oh my, and political speeches as well, and ceremonies, in addition to various other public and private events celebrating the history, government, and traditions of the United States. This day is the National Day of the United States, and actually was signed in July the 4th, but it was actually written July the 2nd, and so the history is just unbelievable. A button there, I wasn't supposed to. I get excited about it. Happy July the 4th, folks. 888 Car Clinic is the number for you to call in if you'd like to call in and just wish others across the country the same. If you're be safe, watch your speed, watch behind and each side of you, and make sure that you're aware and cognizant of all that's going on, regardless of how many is in the car, or if you're listening to Car Clinic or what have you. And Kim will take your calls at 888-227-2546, put you in the queue, and I'll put you on the air. Speaking of on the air, with us now, joining us from Michigan, is Jim. Jim, happy July the 4th. Welcome to the center of the automotive universe.
Well, thank you very much, Bobby. Today, if my dad had survived, he would have been 104 on his 239th anniversary of our Independence Day.
And what was his name, sir?
Francis.
Francis. Well,
that's my middle name.
Happy birthday to your dad, and I'm glad you're with us. And so, again, it is a great day. How's the weather in Michigan?
The weather is beautiful. It's sunny, bright, and clear, low humidity. It could not be better.
Well, perhaps Francis ordered the weather for us to enjoy.
Or perhaps he's flying over and making sure. I've got 2 or 3 reports. If you only want 2, I know you might have a time constraint. I'll do it the way you want it.
I tell you, the mic is yours.
All right, Bobby. We're going to talk about the hydrogen cars. Sort of stepped back in the background a little bit, but they're not really in the background. In South Korea, Hyundai Motor Company said it believes hydrogen fuel cars are the future for the eco-friendly cars, despite challenges of limited infrastructure and slow sales. South Korea's largest automaker has sold at least 273 Tucson fuel cells SUVs since the beginning of production in 2013, lower than its 1,000 legal limit, mostly in Europe and California. Kim Se-koo, general manager at Hyundai's Fuel Energy Design, said that fuel cars represent a big opportunity, which is bigger than the electric cars, because competition is less fierce. Hydrogen-powered also give more flexibility to designers, he said, and they can be scaled for big vehicles as well as buses and small cars.
Okay, let's talk about that, Jim. Let's just, for me, and of course, that's the panacea, if you will. If we could fast forward, and of course, no one has a crystal ball, so I don't know how many years you'd fast forward. That's a fuel that there's no shortage of, and for sure it works, and there are hydrogen highways that they're building. In fact, they're starting in California a couple, 3 years ago, from Oregon down south from Oregon to build a hydrogen highway. Here's the challenge. Folks, the propulsion system in hydrogen is not new. Ford Motor Company, and I'm sure with your connection with General Motors, Ford Motor Company has had transit buses in Detroit for years that run on hydrogen. Here's the challenge. With hydrogen, to get any range, you have to have some 10,000 psi. So you have to have a bulletproof carbon fiber, stainless steel, or whatever tank, because you have to have that tremendous amounts of pressure so that you can, regulate that pressure and have range. And you mentioned it as in the industry report that you gave. It is the infrastructure that is holding us back. It's not the technology. But I'm just delighted to see that there's forward movement in that. When do you think we'll see I don't know that we'll ever see hydrogen in our neighborhoods. What's your take?
Well, if I read further into the article, it states they're going to introduce hydrogen cars in America in 2 years.
Well, we already have some some prototypes, but and there'll be people to buy those cars. Let's shift gears and look at Tesla. And when I think of hydrogen, I think of the forward movement, and I think of the futures, and then I think of EVs that are here today. And I look at what General Motors has done, and we've had several executives from GM on with me during the times over the as well as Ford with the electrification, they call it, of the fleet. And the electrification of the fleet really works when you have, say, like UPS trucks, when you have all of the vehicles that return. That's what it's called. You return to the barnyard at the end of the day, so they all are refilled and recharged, and then they go out. And these are small vehicles that can do U.S. Post Office or Postal Service and drop off, and even FedEx, and drop off and deliver packages. So that's an application for EVs that is here today. And when we talk about the success of any product, I don't care what kind of product it is in the U.S., it's whether or not consumers will buy it. And
that's the key right there.
It is the key. Yeah.
They said bigger infrastructure, but I'm wondering about the size of the tank of a hydrogen tank taking up your trunk space, because it's certainly not going to be as compact as the batteries for an electric car.
But don't you think that, well, I agree, and to that end, some 10 years ago, I had a gentleman on the program talking about, he was in Japan, and he got out of the car and at the airport, and the cab picked him up, and they put one suitcase in the trunk, and he put two suitcases on the hood of on the top of the car and strapped them on. And it was wondering, so he asked the cab driver, why is that? Why don't you put all my suitcases in the trunk? And it was because he had propane, he had the compressed natural gas, rather, in the tank, in the trunk. So there is that challenge. But when you and I, and we all look at what we know to be a fuel tank, we think about a round tank that's 4 feet by 2 feet or so, and that's old-fashioned thinking. They can make tanks out of any shape, size that they want. So you could, if we were to go back and look at the headlight structure of a car, at one point in time, you had a steel beam, and it had to be round, and it was glass. And now, quartz bulbs and the different kind of xenon lights, you can make the lens any shape that you want to, which does a lot of things. It looks great, which means people will buy it. And Jim, that, as you said, that's the key.
When you buy a car.
It's the key when you like the looks of it. And then the headlights also, because you can make the lens any shape that goes with it. And aerodynamically, it adds to the MPG of the car because it reduces the drag. And so all of those things have to come into play, and surely they will with the hydrogen-based cars. To that end, I just want to mention this. Just last evening, I was talking with the general manager of our car clinic service pre-repair service shop, and he saw a Tesla that drove by the front of our business. He said, "Oh, look, there goes a Tesla." And I missed it, and I said, "Well, would you buy one of those?" And this gentleman is 30 years old. Brennan Beasley is his name. He's very astute. He's actually, Jim, the sharpest 30-year-old that I've ever met in my life. He's wise. And I don't know how you get to be wise at 30, but he is. And I said, "Would you buy one?" And without hesitation, he says, "Afford one, I'd buy one today. I can't wait for they come out with a cheaper version."
That comes out in 2 years, Bobby. They're going to be down to 30 grand.
Yeah. And he said, "I'll buy one." And now, and you know what he drives? He drives a Subaru WXR STI, and 400 horsepower. He's done all the mods and the modifications and the intercoolers and put the exhaust on it. It's got a big wing on it, and every other week he's got it in the shop doing something else to it. Reminds me of me. And it's a loud, obnoxious Subaru 4-door with a wing. I swear the wing is as big as the rear deck lid, except it's sticking up for a foot. And yet, here's a young man that says, "I'll buy a Tesla." Now, shift in paradigm, is it? Or is it just the way the future is going to be in the automotive world?
Well, I think Tesla's making a big challenge with GM with the fact that their batteries charge for a 300-mile charge today in 30 minutes. So the challenge is on, and the cars still have to be affordable for everybody.
Well, Elon Musk has said that his company hopes to reveal the prototype of its next vehicle, the Model S. The Model 3, as I remember, in March.
2017.
And it will cost around half of the $70,000 starting price of the Model S, and will likely go on sale, as you said, around 2017. I am most anxious to see, number one, Tesla make money, because they're not making money. But when you really look at it, I don't think Elon Musk is in it for the dollars. I think he's in it because he is not only an entrepreneur, but he's a visionary, no doubt.
There I agree.
So I believe that in our lifetime, we will see, of course, the prototype cars and the hydrogen vehicles. The infrastructure is the challenge, because, make no mistake about it, for any transportation vehicle to really work, you're going to have the capability of stopping every 50 miles or every 100 miles or whenever you want to, literally, which you can do that now, and fill her up. So those filling stations, those service stations, and to that end, what we have, and this is why I'm on board with the Renewable Fuels Association and the ethanol, is because that's available today, and it's available today. And that continues to drive its octane enhancer, its cleaner air, because it burns clean. And so while we look at the future, let's also take a closer look at what we have today that drives transportation and gets us back and forth to work. It's great. Jim, always great to have you on Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
My pleasure, as always, Bobby.
And I wish you a happy 4th of July. And here's looking at your father, who would have been 100 years old today, right?
104.
104. Well, congratulations.
His mother called him her little firecracker.
I'm sure, among other things.
Right.
Thanks, Jim. That's pretty cool, folks. I'll tell you. Let me give you the price of gasoline before I forget. The average price of gasoline is $2.80. That's a U.S. regular gasoline prices nationwide. And here's the overview. The price of gasoline today is less than it was same time last year. And that is in all 10 regions of the United States, which means East Coast, New England, Central Atlantic, Lower Atlantic, Midwest, Gulf Coast, Rocky Mountain, the West Coast, and the West Coast, less California. And that's the way that the government site that I use for my information separates the region. And let's take a look at prices of gasoline 1 week ago versus 1 year ago. All of the gas prices are down in 8 of the 10 regions from same time last week. And if you remember, last week, I think it was just the opposite. 7 out of 10 of those regions, the gas prices were up. So we see a little volatility, but make no mistake about it, gasoline prices will eventually inch their way back up. Here's an interesting point. Diesel's almost as cheap as gasoline. Now, this is really what's cool. While retail gasoline price surged by 25% this year alone, diesel prices have fallen by more than 25 cents a gallon. So the retail gasoline price jumped almost 55 cents a gallon this year and has averaged $2.78. This was, as I said, today. And this is data that's compiled by Heathrow. It's a Florida-based motoring club, AAA. Diesel was down about 27 cents at $2.85 a gallon. And here's the bottom line. The difference has averaged 9 cents this month. That's the smallest since August of 2009. Large trucks and the cost of shipping products, which it means the cost of all the products that we use, clothes, especially groceries. As I understand, the average travel for a grocery item on the shelf is 1,000 miles by the time it reaches a product near you, unless you have those local farmers markets we do in our hometown. I want to share with you, when you have an opportunity, this is something that's really, it's a fallenpatriots.org. I'd like for you to join the hashtag #DropAndGiveMe10. It's a push-up challenge that I took recently. And you can shoot your own videos, and you can just go to fallenpatriots.org. More about that in the next hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Thanks so much for tuning in this hour from 10 till noon every Saturday Eastern Time. Like us, you'll love us. Happy July 4th.
This is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
This Tire Maintenance Minute is brought to you by General Tire and the all-new Ultimax RT43, a smarter tire for a smarter driver. Want to go farther on your tires? Check tire pressure monthly, including your spare. Underinflated tires can decrease MPG and steering control, while overinflation results in a hard. During your monthly pressure checks, inspect tires for cuts or abrasion, then once a year have your alignment evaluated. Aligned tires will wear prematurely and even drag themselves on the road, ultimately reducing. Finally, rotate and balance tires every 6,000 to 10,000 miles. Out-of-balance tires can bounce, which causes tire chop, wear issues, and an unstable vehicle. Drive to GeneralTire.com to learn more about the all-new Ultimax RT43, a smarter tire for a smarter driver. The Ultimax RT43 is designed for a quiet, comfortable ride that includes industry-leading Smart View technologies. For more details, drive to GeneralTire.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
If you're familiar with the Kulseford section of the newspaper, you probably understand this message quite well. You see, in the Kulseford section, everything gets abbreviated. Consonants, vowels, prepositional phrases, the very building blocks of our language are thrown right out the window. And that makes it difficult when you're trying to sell your car. You've got a limited amount of space. And by the time you abbreviate the description of your car down to a couple of fragmented sentences, it sounds less like a car and more like a Bluck sedan with sniffed like new condition lemurs. No wonder more people are selling their cars through eBay Motors. They can post unlimited text and photo descriptions, and with a nationwide marketplace, they're likely to sell it for more. Plus, both parties can be covered by eBay's Vehicle Protection Program. Buyers are happy, sellers are happy, and no one's abbreviating. eBay Motors, a better way to sell your car.
Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 3-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 1 minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 30-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 10-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question for Bobby, call now at 1-800-264-5454, toll free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
Today's edition of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Happy 4th of July. If you're traveling today, drive safely and watch out for the other guy. It's always the other guy's fault, you know. Well, you know how that is. 888 Car Clinic is the number. I invite you to call in. Miss Kim is back after she just had a baby, and congratulations, Miss Kim. So she'll take your calls at 888-227-2546. Put you in the queue, and I will put you on the air. This segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you by Brake Best Quality Brake Hardware Kits. Replace your brake hardware with Brake Best Quality Brake Hardware on every brake job for certified fit and performance. Insist on Brake Best Quality Brake Hardware Kits available, you guessed it, O'Reilly Auto Parts. Also, Bobby Likis Car Clinic July the 4th edition is brought to you in part by General Tire and the new G-Max AS03, the ultra high performance all season tire that you should take a look at. In fact, visit GeneralTire.com for all the details. Now, step up, 888 Car Clinic. Let's hear from you, and let's talk about July 4th and traffic and cars and engines and gas and all that goes with it. Let's have some car fun here on Bobby Likis Car Clinic. 888 Car Clinic, 888-27-2546 when we come back. You have places to go, people to see, and things to do 365 days a year. And there's one tire that will get you there, no matter the adventure. General Tire's new Altimax RT43, the all-season tire designed for a quiet, comfortable ride that includes industry-leading Smart View technologies. Let General Tire give you the reliability, performance, and traction you demand. For more information, visit GeneralTire.com. That's GeneralTire.com. Whether you're a DIYer or a brake professional, be sure your brake job is complete by replacing all the brake hardware with Carlson quality brake hardware. Why? A brake job is more than simply replacing shoes and pads. Fact is, when you also replace springs, clips, and other hardware parts that hold all brake components in place, last longer. It's a small investment to ensure your brake job is complete and done right. Invest in the best. Invest in quality brake hardware kits with every brake job. Okay, folks, let's take a question from the Car Clinic inbox from John in Tennessee.
Bobby, I drive a hybrid, and I'm conscientious about servicing and maintenance to keep it in top shape. My friend talks about K&N products and says I should try them. He's a hot rod kind of guy, but I'm more of a green type person. That's why I drive a hybrid. What K&N products would make sense for me?
John, for the performance guy in you, K&N air filters have you covered. Most K&N air filters are washable lifetime air filters, so K&N filters can stay out of the landfills. And unlike paper air filters, which are made from trees that take years to grow to maturity, K&N air filters a quickly renewing resource. And being green doesn't sacrifice performance. K&N air filters are engineered to deliver high airflow for quicker acceleration up hills and on freeway entries, and for a maximized driving experience. For the K&N air filter just right for your hybrid, drive to knfilters.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Another lending success story from LendingTree.com.
Car dealers like playing games. They play percentage points, they play markups, but I don't like playing with my money. So I got my auto loan through LendingTree.com. I filled out one simple form, a market lenders competed over it, and I got 4 offers back within hours. After all, the car buying game is a lot easier to win when you're holding all the cards.
LendingTree.com. When banks compete, you win. For additional information and state license disclosures, please visit our website located at LendingTree.com.
The following is a consumer alert. If you purchased a Philips Halogena light bulb 2 years ago and it is still working, do not panic. A Philips Halogena bulb is guaranteed to last 2 years. Your light bulb is not possessed, and you are not trapped in a time warp.
Philips, light bulbs that last. Guarantee based on 4 hours average daily use. See package for details.
And now, Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
Started right along with me this hour, and we'll talk cars. You know, for me, after so many years in the automotive service industry and the service business, and folks, for those of you who may have just tuned in or found Bobby Likis Car Clinic, I'm Bobby Likis. I own Likis Car Clinic, or Bobby Likis Car Clinic, or Car Clinic Service Pre-Repair. We've had many names over the 44 years. That's right, 44 years in the automotive service business. It's unbelievable at the technology that we're seeing in new vehicles. And some 5 or 10 years ago, I said, well, you know, this is really cool because we have computers that run engines and deliveries and timings and maps, and not the kind of map you're thinking about, but a map is sort of the advanced curve of the timing and the fuel curve, and that's all mapped so that depending on the throttle and the load in the car, just imagine driving over hills and in mountains and what have you, different throttles are required. Well, that's what a mapping of a computer boils down to. And when you change or reprogram an ECM or an electronic control module of a vehicle, you're actually changing, and you can change the map. And in fact, you've heard of that increase power. I started to say gas mileage, but that's not what a chip is designed to do. A chip is designed to give you a seat of the pants, torque. I'm sorry, I meant to invite you. 888 car clinic calls 888-227-2546 and put you in the queue, and I will put you on the air. So a mapping curve, a fuel curve, helps the vehicle to maximize the power and the torque and the gas mileage all together. Now, there are some limitations because you can't have maximum horsepower and maximum fuel economy. The two are just mutually, they are different. And to that end, if you're going to drive for conservatively and to get gas mileage, of course, you would use the if you're going to drive for horsepower, naturally you open the throttle wide open. Well, the engine has different settings for both of those. And I said all that to say that the technology that we're seeing today versus the technology that we saw 10 years ago versus the technology actually that we saw 2 years ago or that we know about. These new technologies that you hear about on Car Clinic or you read about on media or perhaps on the social media are indeed technologies that have been developed over years. Some of the technologies are new, some not. Even as recently as a couple of weeks ago, Elon Musk with Tesla, who is, I really admire that individual because he's such a visionary, talked about providing and sending 3,000 or 4,000 small satellites to hover around to give global Wi-Fi. And he said that way you don't have all your eggs in one basket. If you lost the communication with one or two or a half a dozen satellites, you still are up. And that gives global communication in the far regions of the world. You would have Wi-Fi. And think about it. You could be in the middle of nowhere, literally, and have a connection to real time to others, to other human beings. And that's really important. So to fast forward to where we are today, it's really, to me, very interesting. I want to share with you the next generation Ford F-Series Super Duty that's going to be available with 7 cameras on it. And earlier in today's broadcast, we had Dr. Dan McGehee, and Dr. McGehee is in charge of the technologies there at the University of Iowa in research and development and the programs for vehicle safety and those programs. And literally, I will tell you, obviously he's a smart individual, but he's 20 years obsessed with car crashes. And there's and the University of Iowa has a $90 million simulator where you can walk in, sit down, and I presume, although I've been invited to come out, I presume it's just like flying simulators for the military. In fact, Dr. Actually started out designing cockpits, and it's all about crash avoidance. So anyway, fast forward. I talked with him about the V2V, the vehicle-to-vehicle crash avoidance. And he said, Bobby, we have in the house a 2006 XE90 Volvo that is a technology demonstrator. So the vehicles that we see maybe 3, 4, 5 years from now are already being tested and being driven. And he drove this one car for 20 miles and never touched the brake or the gas or the steering. And it was literally, and he was there. He seemed like that he really enjoyed that, but it was a little bit spooked about that. I've driven a K900 Kia that had the adaptive radar control, which is cruise control that literally latches on to the car in front of you. And you say, well, gosh, I don't know if that's how that feeling is. I can tell you from having experienced that feeling, it's fantastic. It is a little odd, and it is a little scary. And yes, you will ride with one foot just off the brake because you always anticipate something's going to happen. But let's face it, the computer, the radar, the cameras are on board all these vehicles has a way more cognizance than we do because we don't have eyes in the back of our head. But the bottom line, getting back to the next generation Ford F-Series Super Duty that's going to be available with 7 cameras, it has a reversing camera. It has 2 cameras mounted to mirrors and a forward camera. Additionally, it's a forward-looking camera that's located in the rear view mirror that helps activate automatic high beams and manage lane. So by looking ahead and looking at lines on the highway, and you know, years ago, it was thought that we would have to put sensors in the highway and have the car following sensors like some OEMs. For instance, the Volkswagen Phaeton. I don't know if you've ever seen that facility. I've not seen it up close and personal, but I've seen pictures of it. It's unbelievably beautiful. It's a glass house, and they built. Now I think they build Bentleys there, but they built that facility to build the Volkswagen Phaeton, and you could actually go and you could put a screw in yourself, with appointment. The bottom line is, this was a hardwood floor manufacturing plant where they put cars together, and they have robotics. They also have induction to a tool chest, and think about a tool chest that's the size of half the size of a shower enclosure, and there are tools on it, and it rolls with the car as you're rolling down the floor. It's not plugged in anywhere, and then the technician reaches in and puts a screw into the upholstery of the car. That unit categorizes and marks that screw location and virtually verifies that screw was inserted and torqued to the proper torque. So it's like assembling a car with humans and having a backup computer that makes sure that every screw is in place and properly secure. That's way over the top, and that was in 2006. That shows you how far we've come, how fast we've come. So Dr. McGehee went on to talk about, and he had the semi-trucks that have, in Argentina, a life is lost every hour. And so they have come out with a semi that has cameras on the front and big screens on the rear. So if you're following a semi, you can see through that semi and look at the traffic ahead of that. And just as an FYI, it has been my practice all my life, well, maybe not all my life, but my years of automotive, which has been almost all my life. When I drive, I will not, unless I have no choice, I will not follow a pickup truck that has a bed on it, that has a camper top that you can't see through. I will always ease over to the left lane so I can see the car in front of the car that's in front of me and the car in front of that car. And if you're driving, say, and earlier we had Terry Sabiston from WNDB in Daytona to call in. If you can imagine driving 200 miles an hour on a Daytona racetrack, I couldn't, but I think I might enjoy that. You'd never look at just the car in front of you. You'd be looking at way up ahead, because if something happens, it's too late. Same thing is true when you follow a vehicle. So make it your point when you're driving, especially this July the 4th weekend, that you ease over to the left lane and look ahead of the car that you're following. And if you can't see around that car, back some, maybe ease over into the other lane and choose another lane. I choose to drive behind cars that I can see through so that I can know what's going on. Your call is coming up, 888-227-2546, when I come back, and I'm going to share with you some very interesting news about the fallen patriots, the children of the fallen patriots. Don't touch your dial. Great Pears, Stars and Stripes, Milk and Cookies, and now Royal Purple High Performance Motor Oil and Royal Purple High Performance Filter. Who better to design the perfect filter for Royal Purple oil than Royal Purple? The Royal Purple Long Life Oil Filter provides superior filtration, maximizes flowability, and it has more than twice the burst strength of conventional filters. Who benefits? Another great pair, you and your vehicle. Find out more at royalpurple.com.
They're out there, gunk, corrosion, and wear, relentlessly preying on engines. But new Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline provides unbeatable protection from gunk and corrosion, and superior protection against wear, for the best total engine protection you can get. Stay ahead of engine threats with new Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline today.
I'm Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about new federal fuel economy and tailpipe greenhouse emissions standards set to go into effect in 2017 present an opportunity for ethanol blends above E15. Specifically, the fuel economy mandate for cars and light-duty trucks by model year 2025 will be 54.5 mpg, doubling the fuel efficiency of those vehicles compared to new vehicles currently on our roads. Ethanol's high-octane rating, 113 for pure ethanol, will be a valuable asset to automakers as engines are designed to utilize octane to increase efficiency. Ethanol's ability to burn cleaner will help automakers meet the emission standards as well. I'm Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about ethanol. Brought to you by the Renewable Fuels Association. Drive to ethanolrfa.org.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Commercials are more effective if you use real people. So on the line is Angie McPhee, a Geico Auto Insurance customer. Over $300. This is not an actor we hired to play Angie McPhee. Angie McPhee. So in your own words, tell us, are you Angie McPhee?
Yes.
There. Unmistakable proof that Geico customers are real and in 15 minutes, you could save 15%. Call 1-800-947-AUTO. 1-800-947-AUTO. Geico Direct, the sensible alternative.
Being there matters, and your United States Navy defends America on the world's oceans. Around the globe, around the clock, Navy ships, submarines, aircraft, and, most importantly, tens of thousands of America's finest young men and women are ready to defend America when piracy threatens global commerce, when disaster strikes, or when called upon by the Commander-in-Chief. Your Navy is there. When it comes to protecting and defending America, being there matters, and America's Navy is already there.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. This segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you by K&N, the original performance air filter of NASCAR. Superior airflow, superior performance. Drive to knfilters.com for more information. And I want to share with you just before I go any further, and we're going to take Stan and your calls coming up at 888 Car Clinic. This is the 4th of July week. What better time to tell you about the Drop and Give Me 10 challenge for the children of fallen patriots. And this is to heart, so take a listen. Rich Dwyer at K&N Filters issued the challenge to me, and I want to share it with you. You can go to facebook.com/Bobby Likis, and I would invite you to do that. It's a great video. It's in honor of fallen patriots. Again, go to facebook.com/Bobby Likis, that's Likis, and see the video of how my able-bodied recruit and ASE certified technician Guy Rayner and I stepped up. The Drop and Give Me is all about doing push-ups to honor servicemen and women who have died in the line of duty by paying it forward to their children. The Children of Fallen Patriots Foundation provides college educations for these kids in honor of their parents and our heroes. Go to fallenpatriots.org for the details. And here's what I did. I challenged Jay Leno, Robert White, Aaron Clements, and Jeff Firestone. And now I'm challenging you, Car Clinic listeners and viewers. Come on. Drop and Give Me 10 for our fallen patriots. You can check out how to participate at fallenpatriots.org. And in keeping with that, Robert White, whom I challenged, took my challenge. He's the Vice President of Industry Relations for the Renewable Fuels Association, RFA. And Robert works with petroleum marketers and retailers, state and federal agencies, and commercial fleets and individual consumers to increase awareness about the benefits of ethanol and to encourage greater development and use of renewable fuels. So I challenge Robert to drop and give me 10 in support of the Fallen Patriots Foundation. Just last evening when I got home, I got an email with a video attached, and there's Robert White, lo and behold, on his farm in Kansas with the corn in the background. And he says, "Okay, Bobby Likis, I accept your challenge." There was no doubt in this man. Of course, Robert is a veteran of foreign wars and American Legion member. He met the challenge gladly. And so I have a great deal of respect and a great thank you to Robert White Renewable Fuels Association for meeting the challenge. And folks, I would challenge you as well. So come on, drop it and give me 10. And it's for our fallen patriots. You can check out how to participate at fallenpatriots.org. Check it out. Go there now. And also on social media, you'll go to hashtag drop and give me 10 push-up challenge. Now let's go to Stan and take a call. Stan, welcome to Bobby Likis Carcanet. Thanks for holding.
Well, you're welcome for holding. You caught me with my pencil in my hand, going to write down this challenge. I can tell you, as a veteran, and I remember hearing that more times than I can count at the Army Airborne School when I was there.
Well, it's Stan. You understand and you recognize benefits, and I just happen to have. Let's see if I can. Oh yeah, I want to share this with you. As you mentioned, here's some stats. More than 19,500 children have lost a parent to combat over the last 35 years, and this is to help us find them and support their education. The total children identified are 5,826, and there's $9.2 million that has been raised, as I understand, and it's all for the children of fallen patriots. And the foundation is the Children of Fallen Patriots Foundation. And what this program does, Stan and folks, it provides college scholarships and long-term educational counseling to children of fallen patriots. We honor the lives of those who have sacrificed themselves for our country, ensuring the success of those they loved. And what better day than to promote this on Independence Day? So thank you, Stan. And I'm holding, and I carry this with me, but I'm holding it, a challenge coin. Stan, are you familiar with a challenge coin?
I am not.
Well, this challenge coin has Naval Air Station on it, Pensacola, Florida. And I was asked to come to Naval Air Station in Pensacola about a year ago to give an overview on vehicle safety and travel. I think it had a lot to do with the soldiers going away for the holidays and then having problems with their cars, not being able to get back. So I went out and gave this overview of safety and, talked about automobiles and took car questions, just like I do right here on Car Clinic. So this gentleman was in the front row. I didn't know who this gentleman was, but he was looking at me the whole time with eye contact. It's Keith Hoskins is his name. He's a and I didn't know it. You talk about a gentleman. He was taking notes, and the bottom line, after I finished, and he walked over to me and he says, "I have something for you." And I said, "Well, I have a question for you, sir." And again, I did not know who this gentleman was. And I said, the whole time that I was talking with the 250 people, I kept making eye contact with you. And Stan, you know how that happens. It just happens. And you want to look elsewhere, but you keep being attracted back to that individual because there's a connection. I tapped him on his chest. And I didn't know he was CEO of the base. I tapped him on his chest and I said, "Where did your connection with cars come from? You had to have some background." He said, "Yes." He said, "My dad and I worked on cars together." He reached in his pocket and he handed me a challenge coin, and I have it in my hand right now. And it's the size of a silver dollar, and it's for the morale, welfare, and recreation. And it's from the Pensacola NAS, and I want to thank Keith Hoskins for that, the CO at Naval Air Station. Okay, let's talk about you and your background and your question for me today.
Well, I think you have stimulated so much, as usual, on your show. I've got the site that from Iowa State that Dr. McGee talked about, and this is a rich site. I've never seen so much and great explanations of all the new sensors. And I just learned what, by looking at it, I learned what the lane departure warning, how it works, and when it doesn't work, and that kind of stuff. So what my car does, mycardoswhat.org, is I want to echo that it's a pretty site, it's well done, and the little videos are short and to the point and kind of funny. So the University of Iowa is doing a good job to explain this stuff. And as you know, I've been involved in cars a lot, but some of the stuff I didn't know or didn't know how it worked.
Well, I think that's what his mission was there, is not only to promote what they're doing, but the bottom line is, if you don't understand how a system works, then how can you use that system? And the systems that are on cars are tools. I mean, to be graphic about it, a map on your nav system, I mean, that's a no-brainer. But what about the, as Dr. McGehee and I talked about, what about the ABS system, the lane departure, and all those systems? And then I'll just tell you, Stan, from a standpoint of what I use, my backup camera in my car, when I'm backing out of the driveway, I use it categorically every time I back up now. In fact, I depend on it to parallel park, and I got to say, I can get within 6 inches, plus or minus an inch and a half, by using the camera and by using my mirror and by using the technology that's built into my car. And so, I look forward to the next wave of new cars, just like the next General Motors car. They're going to put Wi-Fi in those cars. So literally, you're driving down the road, the occupants in the car can connect and use your car as a connector to the internet. And that's a big deal. I hit the mic there. That's a big deal. I got excited. So Stan, you have a question? No. I mean, really, I'm excited about cars and technology and questions. And I see that Bill is calling in from North Carolina, and the number is 888 Car Clinic, folks. 888-227-2546. Stan, did you have a question of me?
I do have a question.
Okay.
As you may recall, I called in and said that it's a vapor recovery system that keeps my vapors from my gas tank going out on the road.
Yes.
I have an alarm, engine warning light, and if you'll recall, I told you first thing that they said was to replace the gas cap. So I did that, and I reset the light, and it has not come back on. But I have noticed over the months now, when I fill up, I don't get the hissing sound that I used to get when I open the gas cap, either when it's cold or when it's hot on the highway. Indicates to me that I've still got a problem with that vapor recovery system, and my question is, I don't know how it works or how I can troubleshoot it.
Well, here's there are different methodologies used by different manufacturers. I will tell you the methodology used, the technology used by would take me 2 hours, and you still wouldn't really. I still to explain it in a way that you could understand it, because it's so complicated. They're actually devices on cars. So I won't get specific. I'll just tell you the answer. There are devices on cars. When you turn the car off within a certain length of time, and the pressure equalizes in the gas tank, we'll check the pressure in the tank, and if the pressure is not there, we'll pump pressure, and depending on how many cycles it takes to build pressure up to X, say it's 1/10 of or 2/10 of a PSI, or not even a half a PSI, but depending on how many cycles it takes or how long it takes to run the air pump to pump and pressurize the tank. And if it doesn't pressurize, there must be a leak somewhere. So there are different ways that different OEMs create to test for emissions. And folks, what we're talking about is the gas fumes that enter the atmosphere. And Stan, before I let you go, and before the break comes up, here's a fact. In a car, in a 1965 automobile, well, when I come back from the break, rather than to try to cram that in, I'm going to share this with you because it has to do with parking a car in your driveway and emissions when I come back. Ignition coils carry volts from battery to spark plug, playing a key role in starting your vehicle. But not all ignition coils are created equal. Designed with high-quality components and smart processes, Delphi ignition coils provide superior performance to ensure fast starts, reliable engine performance, and improved fuel efficiency. And Delphi ignition coils are backed by Delphi's OE expertise. When it comes time for a repair, remember, with Delphi parts, it's not just quality, it's Delphi quality. Learn more at DelphiAutoparts.com. That's DelphiAutoparts.com.
It happens in a heartbeat, hundreds of times a year. Drivers breach a work zone and hit human beings, even though they're at work behind legions of safety equipment. They're sons and daughters, dads and moms. When you approach a work zone, think first of the real people who do their jobs on the road. They're America's transportation workers, the beating heart of mobility. This message is brought to you by the American Traffic Safety Services Foundation.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Do the Cool Whip. It's the 4th of July. Here's a new dessert to try. Do the Cool Whip. White and blue. Cool Whip, no bake Philly cheesecake. Cool Whip, whip topping. Philadelphia cream cheese stirring. Cool Whip sure to please. Fresh berries on the top. Make a flag right on the spot. Do the Cool Whip. Find the recipe from our song. Visit CoolWhip.com. Do the Cool Whip.
I, Dennis Walker, pledge allegiance to the roof. I know it'll be clean. I know it will be comfortable. And I know that if the phone rings when I'm in the shower, I can just let it ring. For I have voicemail. Red Roof Inn, one room, under budget, with free cable and local calls for all.
98% of Red Roof guests are so satisfied with their visit, they plan to come back. Now that's not just loyalty, that's allegiance. For reservations, call 800-RED-ROOF.
We're a land of cynics. We don't believe anything anymore. You know why? Because we've been told we've won $1 million, that it's new and improved, that it slices and dices, that our favorite singer is still alive, that we'll be prosecuted if we cut off the tags, and of course that everything is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee. So when we hear the words customer service, we don't believe it if you're a little skeptical when they say they have excellent customer service, and that there's actually a pleasant face behind this website, a living, breathing person with a supercharged computer full of answers, someone who's willing to get lost, and most of all, someone that will actually pick up the phone when you call with a question or a concern. Customer service is just another example of how Travelocity puts you in control of travel. Chances are you'll never have to use it, but it's good to know it'll be there if you need it. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere.
Now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back. Happy July 4th, folks. If you're out driving, drive safely. Watch out for the traffic, the other guy, and watch out what you're doing as well. And watch for those potholes in the road as well, because that does a lot of damage to your automobile. You know, when you fall and break an arm or break a wrist, that's one thing, and you remember that. But when a car drives over a bump, the force is 10 times more violent, and some damage is done. So just be careful. We're talking with Stan, and we're talking about emissions controls on cars. So Stan, are you still with us?
I'm with you.
Okay, here's the bottom line. The emissions are the vapors that are actually burned, because liquid gasoline will not burn. So when gasoline is injected into an engine, it has to vaporize before it will burn. Now, having said that, you open a can of gas and it's full to the brim, you could light a match on the very top, as long as you had a little, like a 2-inch opening, and it would bloop, 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 because the little vapors would burn. But if the can was half empty, you wouldn't want to strike a match anywhere near it for obvious reasons. In addition to the volatility of the vapors of gasoline, the emissions are harmful to health, very much so. And when you look at all the millions of cars on the highways these days and the 5 billion with a B miles that we drive every day, on roads of America, unbelievable, then there's a lot of emissions there. So cars today, including your 626, have this emissions recovery system, which means that the gasoline in the gas tank is sealed from the atmosphere. However, when you draw gas from the tank, air has to enter the gas tank, because if it did not, the gas tank would implode. So there is a one-way check valve in the gas cap, which allows air to enter but does not allow emissions or air to go back out. And that's why when there's pressure built up, when you park a car in the sun and you open the cap, or you stop and get gas, or to fill your tank in summertime, and you open the cap, you'll get that. That is not a vacuum. It is pressure in the tank. And it is that pressure in the tank that the computer on board monitors to see if there's a leak in the system. And if there's no pressure, the computer will activate a pump and put pressure there. There has to be a way to know whether or not they're sealed. Now, having said that, here's the bottom line. In a round trip from D.C. to New York City, a 2005 automobile emits fewer emissions than a 1965 model automobile parked in your driveway with the engine shut off all day long. Because the gas tank in a 65 automobile is vented to the atmosphere with an open tube, if you'll remember those particular type of vents. And so that gives you an overview of just how the technology has evolved these days. So
that is quite informative. I knew that I heard a hissing. I was thinking the hissing was going in, and this was a vacuum system. And now I understand what you're saying.
Hey,
and I have one comment about your earlier comment about going fast.
Okay.
As you recall, I raced for more than 15 years, and you can really become oblivious to speed until something happens and you need to stop.
Right.
And when you need to stop, all of a sudden you're very aware how fast you're going, or if you have something happen and you end up off the racetrack into the grass stuff, it seems like it takes forever for anything to slow down so that you can get control again. And I have myriad stories about those kinds of things. So be safe when you're going fast. I don't go fast anymore.
I hear you. Hey, thank you so much for calling. Happy 4th of July, Stan.
Happy 4th.
We'll take another call from Bill. In the meantime, Kim will take your calls at 888 Car Clinic. That's 888-227-2546. Bill, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Thanks for holding.
Good morning, Bobby. Good things are worth waiting for.
Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate that. How's your 4th of July so far?
So far, good. Cloudy, but a little cool, but good.
Well, what can I do for you?
Got a question from the old school. 160-degree thermostat summer and 180 in the winter. I've got a 2011 Grand Cherokee.
Okay.
That low mileage on it with a 5.7 in it that is running, I don't care whether it's 40 degrees or 80 degrees, running at 202 on the highway. I've seen it up to 225
right,
or on a hot start. Oil temperature is matching it, pretty much the same. I do believe, if I remember right, it does have the clutch fan.
Right.
But the old saying, and I've checked with the dealer and checked with Chrysler, they all do it. Now, what is your input on 202 is running as a temperature?
Well, let me share this with you because I too remember the days when we had a car that went over 195. We panicked, and you know
Right.
we all ran the 160-degree thermostats because we thought, well, the cooler you can run the engine, the better, and that's not the case at all. Ford Motor Company engineers, and these are from lab tests, obviously. So I'm quoting Ford Motor Company engineers: an engine that runs 125 degrees wears 5 times as rapidly as that same internal combustion engine at 195 degrees. So cold, and that's a relative term, But 125 degrees, 140, 160 is cold, is not good for an engine. And here's why. You have obviously different metals, and the tolerances in that engine are all designed and machined when they're at operating temperature. Well, what is that operating temperature? An engine, you wouldn't fly a plane, you wouldn't fire up a plane and take off. You all have to warm the engines and try both mags and all those things like small planes. Same thing is true for an automobile these days.
I've been there, done that.
Well, Bill, then you know what I'm talking about. And I will tell you, it's beyond me how manufacturers, it's not beyond me. I admire what the OEMs have done to allow car owners to crank up a car, put it in gear, and drive it off on the coldest of days or the hottest of days, and the car runs the same all the time. But getting back to the operating temperature, 225 degrees is the norm in today's vehicle, and it is the way to maximize MPG, because you want the engine to operating temperature. You want the combustion chamber to be cooled, and that's what direct injection does. Now, your 11 Grand Cherokee doesn't have direct injection, I don't think.
No, it doesn't.
But the newer versions do, and that direct injection actually injects fuel under high pressure directly into the combustion chamber, and that liquid fuel does two things. Number one, you can use less of the fuel if you direct it directly into the chamber, which increases MPG, and you can also cool the chamber. By cooling the chamber, then you can start off with higher compression because you don't reach that critical mass or worry about detonation because you've got a cooling effect. And so, you with me so far, Bill?
Yes, sir, I am.
Okay, here's another important point. Ethanol, which is alcohol, cools, just like you put alcohol on your arm or your body, and it evaporates. So the evaporative point of ethanol actually cools the chamber more greatly, and ethanol has a 113 octane rating. So an ethanol blended fuel like E15 or E30 or E85 will actually allow higher engine temperature and higher compression, like with turbochargers. And what's that for? What does it do? It gives us cleaner air, more power, and higher MPG, increased MPG, a smaller engine. And that's where the Ford EcoBoost, the GM EcoTech, that's what they're doing these days. They're making smaller. It's called downsizing and downspeeding. And to that end, now they're down speeding, and when you down speed, it means that, let's say you're driving your Grand Cherokee and you've got it in low gear and you're going 40 miles an hour. Well, the engine's turning 5,000 RPM. Well, you wouldn't do that, but to demonstrate a point, it into second, third, fourth, then running the same 40 mile per hour, the taller the gear, the fewer the RPMs. And an engine that is turning 1,500 RPM will burn significantly less fuel than the same engine at 3,000 RPM or at 2,500 or even at 1,700. So that's the whole point. And there's one more note that's really interesting to me. Up and to the right is what we all think about in business. Well, with regard to smaller turbocharged engines, it's up and to the left. And the left means torque, and the right is RPM. We want that engine to develop torque at a lowest possible RPM, but the highest possible torque. And here's what BMW is doing. It's a prototype right now, but they're actually using an electric turbocharger to push air into a turbocharger that's exhaust driven to speed up the turbocharger before its time, so that the engine doesn't have to have so many RPM and so much airflow to create a boost to create power. So you got a 3-cylinder engine. It's a BMW 3-cylinder engine, and it's unbelievable what they're doing, even to the point that, and you're an aircraft pilot, sounds like. So have you ever heard of water injection?
Yes, sir. Sure have.
That's old school, right?
Yes, sir, for sure. Not too much water, but I've heard of water injection.
Well,
and have used it to clean carbon on top of piston.
Absolutely. Well, guess what? Water and fuel aren't usually a good mix, but BMW has turned to water injection technology in their ever-continuing quest to improve fuel economy and power. And one is a Series 1 prototype is fitted with such a system. And the bottom line, and here's what BMW is doing. And they're running, instead of a 9.5 to 1 compression ratio with their 3-cylinder engine, they're now running 11 to 1 using a water injection in that system. And this is a prototype, and it reduces the combustion temperatures by 77 degrees Fahrenheit, and that allows earlier ignition point and the increased boost and the water cooling effect. One series frees up 10% more torque and power than offered in a standard car, and this information is as of yesterday. This is not old school at all. It's new school. So what old is new again? I mean, what else is new?
Yeah,
it's pretty cool stuff.
Off the top of your head, Bobby, do you know what degree thermostat they are running?
198 to 200. 200. You always look for 200. That's what you should run. And,
okay. Well, I feel more comfortable with it.
Well, you're there. You're there. And here's something else that you might, being as you mentioned summer or winter, did you know that you should run the same viscosity oil year-round?
I do.
Yeah. And,
I do.
And
this will be the first winter up here.
Right.
Fort Lauderdale for years, had a auto business there. But the new temperatures just blow my mind. I just can't get used to it.
I know, but you will, and just don't let it bother you. And one more point, I had the opportunity to work with and to dine with, and he's a friend of mine, Andrew Randolph, Dr. Andrew Randolph, who has written 5 peer-reviewed SAE published white papers. He is in charge and director of Chevrolet engine architecture for Earnhardt Childress Racing. His team of 100-plus technicians builds more than 700 NASCAR engines for his race cars and NASCAR engines. And I asked him, Andy, what's the difference between a 2011 or 10 NASCAR engine that ran straight gasoline and an E15 engine, hardware-wise? What did you change hardware when NASCAR went to ethanol E15? And he looked at me and he said, 0. We changed 0 hardware. So for all you folks out there who really think that ethanol has a problem internally with engines, 0 hardware change. Now, so well, what did you change? He said, tune. We changed timing. We changed air-fuel ratio because ethanol has 35% oxygen in every molecule. So these are facts, and these are technologies, and this is what's going on in today's automotive world right here in the center of the automotive. Hey, Bill, thanks for your call. Just great to chat with you on July the 4th.
Okay, and I've got a 2015 Equinox, and that lane departure and collision will wake you up, I'll tell you. I haven't tried the Wi-Fi in it, but it works.
Well,
lane departure.
After you've run it to the seat of the pants, I know a little vibration factor. Call us and give us an update in a month or so.
Okay, Bobby. Appreciate your info.
Thank you, Bill. Appreciate your call. Folks, I often tell you about what's happening in my shop, and now you can catch a glimpse technician professionals do every day. Check out my new Pinterest board, In the Shop with Bobby Likis, on Pinterest.com/Bobby Likis. On this week's In the Shop board, we pinned some photos and here was the patient. That's what we call our cars. The patient was a 2004 Audi A4 with 100,000 miles on it. The physician was Zach Cash. The check engine light was on. The vehicle was running rough with poor acceleration. The codes present were for coolant temp sensor and multiple misfires. Coolant leak on the back of the cylinder head from the water pipe assembly and multiple vacuum leaks. And here's what he did. There's major surgery here. He started by removing the front bumper and the grill just to get to the engine. Seeing is believing. You got to look at this picture. Go to Pinterest.com/Bobby Likis and look for In the Shop board and see all the details. Unbelievably that you got to take a car apart to put a belt or a hose on it, but that's the way it is. Time, same week, next week. Like us, you'll love us. Happy July 4th.
This is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Incorporated.
Here's an email from a Car Clinic listener. David writes, "What's the amber light on my dash? It looks like a cork pointing at an angle to a picture on the side of the car. This light has been on and off for about a year now, and I think it's time I check it out." Well, David, no time like the present. The light indicates a detected failure that could allow gasoline fumes to evaporate into the air, costing you money in lost fuel and polluting the air. Most common failure that trips the light? A small evap leak, or in other words, loose fuel cap. Besides being tight, the cap must also be in good condition. Fuel caps don't last forever, and poor quality caps don't work well from the beginning. Stant makes a large line of fuel caps that will last a very long time and ensure proper sealing of the system. Stant fuel caps are the only aftermarket caps to include all the safety features of the original equipment cap. Visit Stant.com or ask your local parts store for a Stant gas cap by name.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Ricey Outfitters, I'm Tina. How can I help you?
I'd like to place an order.
Great. Which item?
The cotton roll neck sweater, large.
Okay. Periwinkle, Loden, or caramel?
The caramel, please.
The what?
I'd like it in caramel.
Oh, the caramel?
Yeah, that's what I said, Tina.
Actually, you said caramel when it's pronounced caramel.
Can't we just call it yellow?
No.
Everyone knows the best part of a Milky Way. They just don't know how to say it. After all, it's our caramel.
It's caramel.
Ugh, that makes a Milky Way great.
You start my morning, you stir in my soul, you warm my heart, make me feel whole. Your aroma calls me, starts my morning, happy morning. Your name is Folgers Mountain Grow, now you're here. Your aroma helps me wake